Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope everybody's doing great today. So we are going to finish up, well, probably maybe not finish entirely, but we're going to work on the bespoke pen that we were working on. So we did all the machining last week and everything's ready to rock. I got my mandrels set up. At this point, all we need to do is, excuse me, is turn it, so shape it. So it should be fairly quick today. We'll see how far we get on this. I may not get all three pieces done. There's also the sanding and all that kind of stuff. So there's quite a bit of stuff to do yet, but hopefully we'll make some good progress on it, at least today. So as I mentioned before we started, I kind of blew my knee out yesterday. I don't know, I hate injuries. So I was just running. I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was running slowly and my knee popped. And I can kind of barely walk type thing, so it's really fun. So, but it's fine to stand on and everything. There's nothing, no big deal. The only issue is I may kind of get to the point where if it starts hurting, I may say, okay, we're done today. And I may need to kind of take like a little bit of a rest just to kind of get weight off of it. Like I said, it actually feels better standing on it for some reason. I don't know. It's very frustrating. But hopefully, you know, we can get through this and everything will be normal. I'm moving very deliberately today. I'm not doing anything crazy, so that I don't, you know, so it doesn't hurt basically is what I'm trying to avoid. But I'm looking forward to making this pen. I can't wait to see, you know, how the colors look. We got a little bit of an idea. Let me switch to, oh, that's not working. What's going on? Oh, you got to turn the camera on. Hopefully we won't have the same problem that we did last time. Since I'm moving so slow anyway, I'll be probably keeping my eye on the chat more today a little bit. But so you can kind of get an idea a little bit based on, you know, we cut into the threads and all that stuff. So, I mean, these colors are looking pretty wicked on the inside, it looks like. So I'm excited. I don't believe that we got, it's hard to tell, but I don't think that we got much color bleed, like if any. You can really see on the inside of this cap. Let's see if I can get this to, there we go, kind of like that. I mean, it's looking cool. And obviously, well, I feel like, let's use our words. I feel like the colors on the outside of this blank are looking good too. I was very impressed with that. It was one of those where I was hoping that usually the outside looks worse. You know, it doesn't show you a whole lot of what's actually going on the inside. And these blanks, before we even cut into them, looked really good. So I was hoping it wasn't some weird case where they looked good on the outside and they didn't look good on the inside for some reason. But anyway, so that's what we got going on. And I just wanted to mention that it's holiday season. So I like to make these candy cane stopper blanks. So these guys are available holiday season. They're only available, I only do them during the holidays. Kind of makes sense, you know. But they are available on my website if anybody is looking to get into, I can't talk today. And I'm not on any painkillers or anything like that. It's not weird stuff. It's kind of exhausting having an injury. I don't know if you guys, you know, I think everybody has had an injury or two, but it's just like really exhausting. I'm trying to get a link here for you guys to those stoppers real quick. So like my brain is not working like it usually does. Not that I'm that sharp anyway, but I'm even slower today. So let's see here. Where did I get the nib section mandrel? You can get them at Turner's Warehouse. I'm pretty sure that they have them in. So Chad actually made this for me. I asked him when I was down there, you know, like in March this year. But I'm pretty sure that they are up on, like, available at this point on Turner's Warehouse. I'm going to go and look real quick. Kitless tools, maybe. Let's see here. Don't exactly know where on the, there they are, section mandrels. Look at that, they got them. Here's a link. Let me get a link here. Sorry guys. Get you an affiliate link even. Ooh. There we go. No, they got all of them now, I think. Let me go back and double check, but yeah, Yovo number 6 is what they have in there now. And this one, you know, he made one just out of aluminum. The ones that they have for sale are brass, which they're better. I've heard there's nothing wrong with aluminum either, really, but I've heard that brass is a little bit better for mandrels. So yeah, they're available, and I have a link down in the description to like all the bespoke, you know, turning supplies and tools and all that kind of stuff on Turner's Warehouse. So if you need any of this stuff, if you're getting into this, you know, there are, you know, a handful of tools that you're going to need so that you can turn these. And you know, the mandrels are, you have to have these mandrels. There's really no other way. You could make your own mandrel, but you know, somehow you need to have a mandrel so that you can actually turn the, you know, do the shaping on these things. Otherwise there's no way to hold it. So the mandrels are important. And trying to think what else what are the other things that you need? Again, brain fog, guys, a little bit of brain fog. You're going to need taps and dies. I guess that's the big thing, in like, you know, specific size drill bits. And there's a couple of tools that you don't necessarily have to have. I would highly recommend it if you're serious about getting into these custom pens. The tenon cutter is phenomenal. To me, it was a game changer, because before I kind of recently got into these, like this year again, I had made a couple, and I'm going to tell you, you can sit there and cut a tenon by hand, you know, just with your tool. It sucks though. I mean, it just takes forever. You're sitting there with calipers, and you got to get it pretty close. I mean, it has to be pretty spot on with the dimension, and we're talking like fractions of, you know, inches, like thousandths kind of. And the other thing is, you really need to have it, you know, like perpendicular, like flat straight. You don't want it to be like angling off and doing weird stuff. And doing the tenons was just annoying. It took, I mean, literally it would take me like 30 minutes. With the tenon cutter, the way that it works, you have little bushings, and so you set the offset for whatever tenon you want, whether it's not, you know, 9mm all the way up to 15. So it just cuts it, and you just move on with your life. Then you can get your threads on there. It was a game changer, because it just makes things like so much easier. So the tenon cutter is another one, is one that I would get. And then there's also the Neil's niche tool, for doing the tapping and you know, doing the threading. That thing is awesome. You don't have to have that, but it definitely makes things way easier. Even if you had a metal lathe, that's a really great tool. It just makes the threading so simple. So anyway, let's see here. Oh, Jules just had surgery. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't even know exactly what's wrong with. I'm telling you, because I've had lots of. I blew out my ACL 20-some years ago, so I knew what that felt like and how I did that, and that was a pretty traumatic event. I was lightly jogging. I was just the ground wasn't weird. I didn't step wrong. My knee just popped on the inside, so I think I might have blown out my MCL this time. Definitely my meniscus has been jacked up for a long time, so that might just be what it is. I don't know. I got to get an MRI on it. I'm hoping. I mean, unless the entire knee for some reason is totally wrecked, which I don't think that's the case. It does hurt really bad. It feels like right after my ACL surgery, that's how the pain is and how it kind of feels. It's super swollen right now, but I'm hoping that I can avoid surgery. I've done some research, and it kind of, if you have a meniscus tear, surgery is kind of useless. There's been a lot of studies out where people just do physical therapy and people do surgery plus physical therapy, and in the end, everybody's just kind of the same. So I don't think, if it's just a meniscus problem, I'm just gonna, physical therapy it. It should be fine. Even the doctor said that, because I did go get x-rays yesterday, the doctor said that if it's the MCL, the inside one, which I think is the MCL, the ones that kind of hold your knee on the sides. If that's blown, they don't do surgeries. They don't usually recommend those now. So I'm hoping I don't have to have surgery. That would suck. And I don't know when I would actually just schedule that in, you know, but hopefully it'll get better and, you know, whatever. Wait until I'm getting old, man. That's why my body's falling apart. I got tennis elbow right now. My knee just fell apart. It's just, the thing that makes me mad about this is I'm going to be extremely set back. Like, I'm going to have a lot of work to do because I'm probably just like, this is the worst time. Well, there's no good time to have an injury, but for me, November and December are like I don't really do a whole lot of activity things, and we're just eating everything. So I'm just going to be fat by the time January rolls around. And I think it may have wiped out my snowboarding season, which is really a bummer, but what are you going to do? Problem with calipers, and yeah, I hate sneaking up on things. It's just, you always, just a little bit, oh, oops, you know, so anyway, all right, let's get going here, guys. What do you think? We got that thing set up. So one thing that eventually I want to make, it takes me a minute to get, you know, the problem with this injury is there's a lot of mental problems, because like I can stand and walk on this thing, but because how it happened with my knee was so, nothing was going on. Like it wasn't a traumatic injury. I was just kind of barely jogging. And so now I'm like super, you know, it freaks you out. You're in your brain, you're like, oh, I don't want to step wrong, or what, I don't know what, you know, it really kind of messes you up. So I kind of get started when I start moving, it's kind of slow. So here's the deal, guys. So one of the things, eventually I want to make my own mandrels, and I don't know if you can see, but all three of these stupid things are different sizes, which is not a big deal. It's nitpicky, but I mean, why not just make them all 3/4 inch? Like that's pretty much, that way all I would need is one collet, you know? So for this part where it holds. So I got to find the right collets for these things. I've found that the 18 millimeter works the best. These are all the Buford Inc. Ones from Turner's Warehouse. Well, the other two, obviously. So for the cap, it's the biggest one. I've found that an 18 millimeter collet works the best. Like it's like a perfect fit. I gotta find, yeah, 18 millimeter. It fits quite nice. And for the body one, and these are, so the other thing is, I don't know, these are 14 millimeter threads on the body and cap. So I don't know if things are different for each different size of these mandrels, but for the 14 millimeters, a 15 millimeter collet fits this quite well. It doesn't matter. You just need to find one that's going to fit all right. And then for I don't know what they're making on the new mandrels, but I would imagine it's probably the same. This one's a 1/2 inch. So just, you know, you got to use different collets for all these different things. So I think, let's see, I'm going to start with the body. I think it seems like it doesn't matter really which one you do first or anything like that, as far as I know. So we're just going to start with the body. I find the cap is usually the quickest, so I usually do that last. The section can be tricky, but for as much of a problem, or, you know, for how Chad kind of described it, and a lot of people say that they have issues with the section, and I will say that it is probably the most problematic one. I got to be honest, guys, I really haven't blown up that many sections, so I don't know. I also use tailstock support, which I think a lot of other people don't for some reason. So, you know, it's up to you how you want to do it, but that seems to work pretty good for me. Now, one thing is, sometimes you can get a pretty wobbly blank. That's actually pretty good. I don't think I'm going to get it better, but if your blank's wobbling all over the place and you don't really think that it is really that out of round, sometimes you need to kind of fiddle with your collet. Just kind of, you know, loosen it, maybe find a different depth, or spin it around in there, tighten it back up, and you might kind of fix some of the wobble, get it a little bit more concentric. So collets can sometimes be a little bit shifty in that sense, where if you don't really get things lined up, it tends to not really want to turn particularly well. You know, it's off kilter. All right, so let me open up the YouTube app so I can see the comments really quickly. Go to my channel. What's happening? There we go. Turn the volume down. You're not closer to 70. Yeah, I know. I'm already on the path to destruction, though. I can tell. All right, so here's one thing that I do want to mention. If your blank is long enough, if you've got enough extra material, like let's say that, I mean, I got like, if I had like 3/4 of an inch of extra material, then what I would actually do is use a center drill and get in there. That way you're getting that 60-degree cone, and your live center is going to actually hold a lot better if you put that 60-degree angle on there. The problem is I don't necessarily have a whole lot of material left over. Let me measure this. I kind of have specific sizes. But a lot of times you can just get away with just a cone, you know, just kind of sticking that into the resin. The thing is, it tends to loosen up over time. So just be aware of that. Your best bet is to actually, if you have enough material, if you can do it, put your actual, you know, like a 60-degree hole in the blank itself, and then you're going to get a better connection. Friction is going to hold everything together better, and it's not going to kind of wobble around. So let me get I got to get my numbers out. Oh, turning around, and if I stand in one place, everything's fine, and then when I start moving, I'm like, let me get my numbers real quick here, because I've been kind of playing around with stuff, and I've kind of come down to certain diameters and lengths that I generally have been putting on my pens. So let's see, and I can give you the numbers. It doesn't matter. I highly recommend you just kind of figure out your own numbers, probably. But if you want to know what I'm going to be doing here, my final length for my body, and that's going to be measuring from the threads, you know, the end of the blank up here, all the way to the, like, you know, so where the cap goes on, but I include the threads, and then 3.5 inches back. So let's measure that real quick. That way I can kind of see how much material I have left over. Doesn't have to be exact. I don't need to pull calipers out. So technically I would probably have enough room. I think I got enough room. I'm going to actually put in the hole, because like I said, it'll just hold your blank in place a little bit better. Keep that pressure on it so that it's not wobbling around or moving. And that's kind of the game with this. You know, this is not compared to like a kit where you got bushings and doing all that stuff, like nothing's really moving at all. These things, you know, you're kind of just hanging on to it. The better you can do on the tailstock support, the better you're going to get. You know, the better your results are going to be. And I'm using kind of one of the smaller 60-degree or center drills here, because I don't want to go too deep. Okay. I think Chad puts these things in like right off the bat. I kind of wait and see if I really need to or not. Okay, so we got everything set up real quick. Let's get this tool rest ready. One other little thing that I've found personally, I know that I'm a big proponent of using negative rake carbide cutters. However, in this case, with these, because they are a little bit longer and not like fully supported, when you have like plastics, you know, plastic blanks can warp a little bit more. And what I find is I get some chatter at kind of at the middle of the blank a lot of times when I'm using negative rake cutters. If I switch out to a standard cutter, I get less chatter. And I don't know, it's cutting a little bit better. I think it's a little bit more aggressive. I don't know why it does that. I got to be honest, but I've been getting better results with the standard cutters on these things. So it's not that you're going to get bad results with a negative rake. So if you're comfortable with those, stick with it. But I have been finding that the standard cutters work a little bit better for me, usually. This is kind of the only case where I really would even say that, though. If you're turning resins, typically your negative rate cutters are going to cut. It's just so much better. All right, I'm going to turn the... Oh, falling off a motorcycle. Ouch. Disc problem. Yeah, back problems are the worst. Oh, no. Yeah, I know, getting out of bed, getting up, doing anything. That's kind of how I feel. A lot of grunting and groaning yesterday. Oh man, getting in my wife's car. Oh, and then I have big feet, so I wear a size 15. And my shoe got like stuck, like wedged in, like in the bottom of the, I don't even know what part of the car, but like between like the door and whatever. So like my leg is like stuck. And I was like, man, she had to come and like free my foot. Hobbling around. All right, look at this thing going here. So, okay, so one other quick thing. So the length is 3.5 is what I usually kind of shoot for the body, 2.5 for the cap, and then the section is like about 0.85 or so, 0.8. Yeah, somewhere around there. Somewhere between 0.8 and 0.9 inches. And then for my diameters, for the body, I usually take it down pretty close to the threads. So 15 millimeters is what I start. And so most of the pen is going to be about 15 millimeters diameter. And then I've just been kind of giving it a little bit of a, what do you call that? Like an angle back at some point. But I've been kind of keeping the cap and the, like, about half of the blank. I've been keeping it like flat, straight, no taper or anything. And it just seems like I've been liking that, but you can, play around with these things, do whatever you want with the shaping. Alright, I'm going to stop it so you guys can kind of take a look at this. I want to see it too. Woo! Patterning's looking awesome. There's a little tiny bit of color bleed on the outside, but we haven't really dug into this blank very far yet. Pretty cool. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but I want to take a little bit more off because I think it's going to be even more impressive once we get into this thing. And so my main strategy for turning these types of pens is to just take long cuts, try and get it like 15 millimeters from end to end. Then I can start kind of tapering stuff, at the end. I think that's probably what most people would do, but I just want to kind of mention that because a lot of times I do things different on the kit pens. They're much shorter, and I like to put camber, like a kind of a convexness to it. But let's see if you guys can see this thing. I'm gonna zoom in. So maybe you guys see what's happening here? There you go. It's looking pretty good. Like I said, maybe a tiny bit of like kind of bleed looking stuff. It's not really a terrible color bleed, but a little bit of wispiness here and there, but the colors are pretty wicked. It's gonna look even better when we polish it up, obviously. All right, so zoom out. Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't get chatter on this end. I generally don't even get it on this end. It's just in the middle, and it's because it can flex a little bit right in that middle part. Another area where that might come in, and actually where I learned this, it's a little bit less of a problem once you have a good mandrel and everything fits really tight. If the inside dimensions are, pretty good on the mandrel, and you got good tailstock support, you're probably gonna have less of a problem with the negative rakes, as long as everything's set up well and you've got pretty good support on these. Where I really found that I was having a problem, and I'm walking away. I'll be back in a sec. Takes me a minute. I don't want to trip over the cord either. That would be fun. Where it really came into play is when I make these sample blanks. I make a blank, and the thing is, I was saying, you can't see anything on the outside of the blank, so I have to turn these down to see what the results are. And the problem is, this thing's basically just kind of between centers, sort of. I usually do grab it in the collet chuck, but this is a long piece of plastic just kind of hanging out there, right? And so definitely in the middle, I get a lot of chatter when I'm doing something like this. And same thing would go with diamond painting pens. It's kind of a similar idea, where you got a pretty long blank, but it's plastic, so it doesn't have the tensile strength of wood, and it can bend and flex a little bit more. And I think that's what causes a lot of that chatter, is that it's flexion. It can move a little bit. And actually, here's a prime example I can show you. Sorry guys, slow moving today. But here's a perfect example of that. Can you see that? That was all caused by chatter. All those ridges and stuff. And it's just kind of, the cutter is kind of going, chattering on that material. But you can see, I don't really have a whole lot. There's not any of that chatter on this end. And there's really not any on this end. It's right in the middle. And that's like the flexiest part. So, if you're having that issue, maybe throw in a standard cutter, obviously the standard cutters are more aggressive, and if you screw something up, they're way less forgiving. But I don't personally have issues with pens very often with the standard cutters. Once you start getting into larger diameter things, and especially on inside if you're doing hollowing, these things can get pretty nasty. But you should be okay with the pen. Just make sure you got a good solid base. A lot of times I actually will cock give myself a little bit of an angle so that it's not flat, because I find that if it rocks the wrong way, that's when you get a catch. So as long as, in the direction of the tool, I'll kind of twist it forward. So, there's all kinds of different ways that you can. So I'm going to be making a cut this way, so I tilt it. And it just makes the tool move smoothly along the tool rest. So I don't know, just some tips. I don't know if I am not a professional wood turner. I'm not that good at it necessarily, but let's just say there's way better people that know what they're doing a lot more on a lathe. But these things help me out, you know. That's all I'm saying. I'm not sure if it's right or wrong, but it's been helping me out a little bit. Oh, for goodness sakes. I'm much better at the pull stroke. From right to left. All right, so let's take a measurement. I know I'm not there yet because I can tell that, you know, my threads, it's more than 1 millimeter. But let's take a measurement and see where we're at. Calipers would be another tool that you really need to get. But the beauty of calipers, you don't have to spend a lot of money on these things. You know, we're not, like Jim Hines says, we're not making parts for NASA here. So, you know, a cheap set of calipers is going to be accurate enough. Oh, that's not what I wanted. For doing this type of work. All right. I'll zero this thing out. Zero. Okay. Looks like, actually that's pretty, getting there. 16 millimeters, and I like to take some measurements down the line so that I can tell, is it kind of, because I usually don't get a perfect, it's not perfectly flat, you know. I usually get it, for some reason I take off more right here, then it kind of bulges out, and then I take off more down on this end. But let's see here. So this one's at about, 16.7. So we're closer to 70. So I need to take off some material in the middle for sure. But I'm pretty close at this other end. I took a few extra cuts on this end. My life alert, he's falling and he can't get up. I know. I'm gonna need that soon. My only problem is I can barely see. What I need is a caliper that has like a display that's facing me. I don't have light this way either. Let's see here. And make sure that you're getting because like if it's skewed, you're gonna have skewed, you know, numbers. It's gonna be bigger. I can't see the stupid thing. All right, now I can see it. Get my light out. 16.4, 16.9, 17, 16.9, 6. Okay. Still got quite a bit to take off there. One other advantage to using the standard cutters is you're getting more of like a true cut with these things. Again, because they're kind of more aggressive. And realistically, I get a little bit smoother surface it's possible to get, as long as you're being smooth, you know, you can get a pretty good surface and start sanding a little bit higher. If you can, you know, like I said, off the tool, get a pretty nice surface. Just a little, it's splitting hairs, but it's just a little better than a negative rate cutter. This is where I would like to, this is where personally I think a metal lathe would be pretty awesome, because just making something a certain diameter and flat, that's where a metal lathe really excels. And even like a slight taper, I think you could do on a metal lathe. So for this stuff, like, I think it'd be a lot faster if I got my metal lathe set up. I could get all the tapping and stuff done on it, and then I wouldn't be fumbling around back and forth like this. But, you know, my recommendation is to take it slow, be methodical about it, otherwise you're going to blow through your numbers. You know, take too much off and you're not going to be a happy camper at all. And it's a good idea to take, you know, lighter and lighter cuts, the less material, you know, that some of these things are pretty obvious, just in case somebody's kind of new to this stuff. The thinner this thing gets, the more likely it's going to be to, you know, the more likely you are to have like some sort of a problem. 15.7 there, 15.9, 7, 6, 6. So we got it pretty well flattened out at this point. We just need to take a little bit more off. If it's exactly 15, I don't really care, you know. It's not that big of a deal. Oh, got a little bit of a skip there. All right, what I'm looking for though is I want it to be flat. You know, I want it to be, I don't want it to be like 15 here, 16 here, 18, all bumpy and crazy. I want it to be nice and smooth. That's more important than if it's actually dead on 15 millimeters. I think we're getting pretty close here, 15.4. Yeah, I got a little bit more to take off. Like I said, I like to get this, I personally kind of like it. Some people have a little bit wider where you have like threads and then kind of a little bit of a bump up. I really like to get it pretty close. I just think that it feels better in the hand. I think it looks a little bit better personally. All right, so we got about a ½ millimeter to take off. That's where we're at now. So now's the time to take smooth cuts, if you can. And you will take some material off when you're sanding as well, so keep that in mind. All right, 15.17, I'm good there. Still kind of fat right here though. 15.3. So I've got a little bit of a hump right there. I don't want a hump. All right, I think that's probably pretty good. I'm gonna measure this, mark it, and see where we're at. Sorry, I haven't been watching the, when I start shaping stuff, I start getting kind of a little bit crazy. Super focused. So we'll take a little break and I'll look at the, all right. Shape them like bamboo, that's cool. You can see the fish colors, nice. Yeah, they're looking pretty good. These colors, that was a good choice of colors. So I got 3.5 inches marked there. What I don't like is twisting on this knee. That's certainly not a good idea. All right, so get these calipers kind of set up. Give it a little bit of a mark there. Put the calipers down there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with the detail tool and physically mark this out. I'm weird. A lot of people would cut this off because we're about to start sanding. I prefer keeping everything intact with the tailstock support as I sand. So I'm going to sand this up pretty much all the way and then come back and cut this off. I kind of need to come back and do a little extra, but the thing is, it's not going to wobble around on me if I keep the tailstock support up. So that's why I do it that way. But I am going to mark this pretty well so that I know. And I'm even going to kind of take this and get it out of my way. I love these detail tools. Just messing around with these things, have a good time. But I still have good tailstock engagement, right? So everything's still very concentric, everything's still really good. All right? And I've kind of switched things up. I used to do a lot of with the sanding, and this is kind of recent. Some of you guys have been kind of doing it, but I found that if you start with 600 with the silicon carbide, the wet dry, and it, maybe it might depend on which brand. I guess I use Merca, but I'm finding that 600 wet with the wet dry stuff sands. It's like it takes care of the same amount of sanding as the 400 grit with the what is it called, the Abranet. Like, it's as aggressive, and I think it's because there's more like more grit, kind of like the way all sandpaper, it's not all the same exact way of doing stuff. This has a lot more sand grit particles in it, and it's a little like wet dry sandpaper. It's what they use to sand like auto body, if they're painting a car. And I think that it just is more densely populated with particles than the Abranet. I don't know. I'm getting, because I would do this dry too. I don't do this wet usually, the Abranet, but I'm having a pretty good time with the silicon carbide, and I do it wet, so that way I don't even have to use the dust collector anymore. But it's been pretty good. I don't know. If you haven't tried it, give it a shot. Let me know what you guys think about the black, the wet dry silicon carbide paper. It's been working pretty good, and I would, dang it, that looks nasty. I'm gonna take the long walk up front. This is gonna take a second, guys, sorry. 4,000 square foot shop, not awesome when you have a knee injury and have to walk all the way back and forth. But yeah, let me know if you guys, what you guys think of silicon carbide paper. If you've been using it, or if you haven't used it, and you know, maybe give it a shot sometime. The reason I tried it out is because Chad does that, and I was like, well, you know, I saw him do that on his well, he uses it on rings. He kind of does it on everything, and so I was like, huh, I think I'm going to try this out. What I think about it, and I've been pretty happy with it. Not to say that it's necessarily better, but sometimes, you know, you try something different out and it just seems to work better. So, you know, what feels like it's working better. I don't know if it really is or not. I do like the fact that I don't have to turn the dust collector on when I'm sanding. And it's fast, I guess. Like, I've been getting pretty fast results with it. It seems. You know, none of this is scientific or whatever. Oh. Long walk. I'm almost back, guys. Wish I had running water back here. That'd be great. Don't trip over the cord. Okay. I made it. Let's see here. What did CJ do? Ranga pens? That's a good place for alter. What is Ranga pens? I'm not sure what that. The other thing I don't like about wet sanding is you get your hands wet and it kind of screws your hands up. So I've been using gloves a lot when I do wet sanding. And I just find my fingers, my cuticles and all that stuff, they don't dry out as bad. So if you're having issues with that, throw a pair of gloves on, and there's nothing wrong with putting just, you know, nitrile gloves on while sanding. It's not dangerous in any way. Even if it did get like caught or something, it's just gonna rip the glove off. So I'm starting with 600. Slow the lathe down here. And the key to wet sanding is always clearing, you know, like cleaning up the, oh, I need to taper this thing. Shoot. Hold on a minute, guys. I was jumping the gun. I didn't put my taper on. So what I like to do is probably somewhere around halfway down the pen, start the taper, or, you know, halfway down the blank. Start tapering it, and then I've been coming down to about a 13 millimeter. So just like a 2 millimeter taper. It's not like a big crazy deal. And I'll even mark it, you know, like if it matters that much, I don't care, but I'll put a mark there, and then we're obviously tapering it down to the end here. So here we go. Carolyn. Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, well, you know, what else am I going to do? Sit at home? I mean, like, it hurts at home. Though, here's the interesting thing, and this was actually kind of a lifesaver. Like, all night last night, we were just kind of sitting on the couch, and we have kind of a terrible couch. It's like a futon, basically. So I don't think that's the greatest thing. It's not very supportive and, you know, whatever. But, so, like, the up and down, it was kind of a rough day on the, like, you know, it didn't feel great. The beauty of it was I got in bed and it felt perfect. Like, there was no pain laying down in bed. But I'm not going to lay in bed all day. Like, that's not happening. So I'm happy to be out here. Plus, I wanted to see what these things, I wanted to get these things turned, you know? So what I'm going to do here is, the way that I do the tapering, is I kind of I'll take a little bit of material off here, scoot down, you know, a little ways, take another cut all the way. And so I just kind of continue to do that, where I'm taking some off, but I'm, you know, does that make sense? So I'll take a little cut here, take some material off, then take a cut here, take more material off all the way down though. So every pass, you know, the far end is getting material taken off, whereas as I move down, it's getting kind of like one, you know, 1, 2, 3 cuts, that's all. So here, I'll show you. And you know, of course, you could just turn your tool rest if you wanted to do that. But I've been kind of finding that just doing it like this works. Maybe come back and clean it up, you know. So that kind of helps to get the taper going, and then eventually you're just going to have to kind of clean it up and flatten everything out, you know. Another thing is, I mean, you could frankly just do it by eye, you know. You don't have to do all these measurements and craziness. All right, so we're at about 14 down there, 2.7 and 15. We're doing pretty good, but I do need to take this down a little bit further at the end. And again, does this need to be like absolutely perfect? No. Just needs to look good. But one thing I think that you'll find is you don't need like a massive taper and like 2 millimeters. Like that's all. It's good to go. Looks great, you know. In fact, I mean, this is only like 1 millimeter. And even that is enough to create an interesting effect, you know? So let's see where we're at down here. Sorry about the camera angle. All right, we're at like 13.3. Maybe I'll take one more cut. Famous last words, right? And I think we're gonna move on. Okay, now we're ready for wet sanding. And you know, depending on how you do these, you may just get things shaped and then, you know, do all of your sanding and polishing at the end on all of them. I don't know what the best way to go is, because it's not like you can easily swap these things out. I don't know if it's much better to like stop and then, you know. So that's looking pretty good. Turn the dust collector off now. Need that thing. Ranga is a pen company in India. Oh yeah, okay. Cool. Get some good ideas from them, huh? I'll tell you, another, you know, if you're looking for just classic designs, find out what some of the most iconic pens, like the pens that everybody, you know, goes for, like the Sailor, you know, whatever model, and try to look and see what things, you know, what types of, how is that shaping? Because if it's been a popular pen for many years, that, you know, like from these bigger companies that have been around for a long time, what design elements can you maybe take from that? Maybe don't copy the whole thing, but it's design elements that people like, and there may be certain things that you can say, it looks like this, this end shape, or whatever. There's different, even though it seems like there's not a lot you can do with a pen, there are certain things that people tend to gravitate towards if you're looking for like kind of like the best design or something like that. But then on the other hand, there's a lot to be said about coming up with a very unique design. The nice thing about going for classic designs, typically they are kind of proven to be comfortable for the writer, so a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes you may be kind of tweaking around with different like designs, and it may look really cool, but it may not be particularly functional, may not be comfortable to write with. So just kind of keep those things in mind. I would recommend, because ultimately you're making pens for people to write with, most likely, rather than just stick them on a desk. It'd be pretty. All right, so that should be probably good. And again, that was the 600. Oh, hold on. Every time I have to turn around. Oh. A lot of this is mental with my knee. I'm like, But I mean, that's nice and smooth. That's great. It's good. I'm done. We can move on to, and to be honest, I've just been moving up. I don't know exactly where I would go with the Zona, so I'm just going with 800 next with the silicon carbide. And I still like Zona. Zona's awesome, but I've been kind of playing around with the silicon carbide lately, just trying it out, seeing what to do. So I'm just going to go 600, 800, 1,000, and then I'll be good to move on. And one little secret, guys, I get better results buffing. I can get things like flawless using buffing wheels. So I've been doing that with these custom pens just because I really want them to be as flawless as possible. Magic Juice works great, but I can still see some scratches and stuff every once in a while. So I usually just kind of go to the buffing wheels to finish up. So what I'll do is I'll get everything sanded, part this thing, get it cut off. And I usually do all my buffing at the end. So we'll probably just do that. We'll do our sanding, get everything ready. And then kind of put them in the buffing pile. Forgot to do the lengthwise sanding on that last grit, but that's okay. Get it on the 800. Okay, and I usually kind of dry it off a little bit in between grits, and then 1,000 grit. Now, I did look up like micron levels on the Zona paper, and from what I don't know how true to conversion it is, but it seems like the green is somewhere around like 700 or 800 grit if the conversion works. Gray I think was like 1100, and then blue was something like 15, something like that. So I don't know. I know exactly what the grit levels are with these silicon carbides. That's why I thought I'd just kind of give them a run. I would say that these get a little bit more aggressive somewhat than Zona papers, and they're also a little bit like the paper's like kind of stiffer. I feel like I really do like the Zona paper, polishing papers, but what did CJ say? Yeah, unique designs. That's the thing, is I'm also trying to come up with something that maybe sets mine apart, or a lot of times. So I think, and I kind of mentioned it, I don't really plan on going down the road of making a ton of like going into business selling pens. I do plan to make like a pen company business name, but I'm not going to be like taking commissions and going to shows and doing all this stuff. But I do plan to make pens because I want to make pens out of my blanks, for examples and for, you know, whatever. We're making one right now. And I really do enjoy making these, but the simple thing, like I don't necessarily, whatever, the unique thing that I want is probably not going to take time. I don't want it to be like time intensive. So like simple things like the finial, you can put like your logo, and then roll stops also. Kind of maybe even be able to make a custom roll stop or something. I think that would be kind of cool. I don't know. Jen, how's it going? I'm doing okay. A little bit of a knee injury, but we're moving forward. Turning a pen. As long as I just stand here and don't have to turn or do anything, it's really quite nice. I can kind of focus in on the pen. I don't have to worry about my knee. Okay, so let's see here. What I think I'm going to do next is, we got up to 1,000 now. I'm going to cut off the rest of this. A lot of people probably would be like, that's kind of a ridiculous way of doing it. So if you're not inclined to do it this way, don't. I just like it. I know I can get that. Everything's nice and solid. And then I can come in here, cut this off, and spend just a couple minutes on, you know, re-sanding kind of the end. For the most part, all I have to do is just sand the very end of it, you know. I would just rather keep the tailstock support for as long as possible. I don't know if, again, right or wrong, I don't know. That's just how in my head, it seems like a good idea. And this is a negative rake, by the way. This is the CI4. Definitely go for the negative rake on these diamond tools. Way more forgiving. All right, gotta get my water bucket and stuff out of the way here. Hold on. Oh man, it's amazing how, I don't know, I guess how fast you move when your knee's not messed up. I move a lot faster usually. Yeah, that's significantly wobbly. I'm going to bring this back up for just a little bit longer. Still there. There we go, got it. Now I got to get my head in here and look at that surface. That's not too bad. I think we could probably sand the rest of this out. I'm going to try that. And then, you know, you can come bring this to a point kind of thing if you wanted, like, and I think that would fall under the some of those kind of more I don't know, famous, I guess, pens designs kind of have that. I tend to go for kind of the flat end. I don't know, it's just kind of a personal preference, but this pen was given to me, and you know, you can see like the end of this body kind of is a little bit more like a rounded tip, kind of, I don't know, what do you call that, whatever shape that is. So you could do that. That looks pretty, and that looks pretty good. I like that look, but like I said, I kind of personally prefer a little bit more of just like a flat, slight roundedness, but kind of flat. Let me pull out an example here. So like with the walking. Here's my Tequila Sunrise pen. So, you know, pretty flat. This one's actually probably even more flat than I would even, maybe a little bit more roundedness. But whatever, you know, like these little simple, like little design pieces, you know, can set your pens apart from others. Or maybe you wanted to have different like lines, you know, different models of pens that you make. One of them could have kind of more that tip, kind of pointy, whereas the other one might be a little bit flatter, chunkier. So there's so many different ways you can kind of play around. Oh shoot, I can't think of his name now. Help me out, guys. Do you guys know the Mad Science? Is it Mad Science Pen Company? Is that what his name is, or what the business name is? I'm pretty sure it's Mad Science. I forget what his name is, but he does some really crazy design ideas on his pens. So definitely check him out. Don't copy him because he's doing very unique stuff, but check his stuff out. See what you know. If you want to see some kind of really out there designs, check that out. Like he's played with, you know, where you have kind of like the nib is hooded. If you're familiar with that, he does some of that, and different length sizes and all that stuff. Really, really cool stuff. Make sure to follow him on Instagram. See some cool stuff that he does. Constantly trying new ideas out, you know. It's pretty fun to see. Yeah, he's making like backwards pens too. I don't know if they all were like that from the start, but and I don't know how to explain that. Basically, you don't take the section, you don't unscrew the section. It like comes apart at the back end to put your all the goodies in, you know, something. Attaching a crystal to the end. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, eventually what I want to do, I need to, so maybe I'll ask you guys actually. I don't know why I didn't ask you guys. I just thought of this now, but I'm trying to come up with what I don't want to do for my like the pen company side of things, because I do want to have kind of like a pen brand, but I don't want it to be like Resin Works Studio. That just, to me, that doesn't, I don't like that personally. So I have two in mind, and I'm still not even set on these two, but the two that I came up with were Tahoe Pen Company and Black Diamond. And both of those, partly it has a lot to do with like skiing, well, snowboarding for me, but and I'm stuck. I don't know which way to go, and I'm not even sure if I like either of those entirely. But the Black Diamond thing is actually more like double Black Diamond, like the ski run thing. But I'm not going to call it double Black Diamond. So I just thought Black Diamond would be cool. And then if I did come out with different models of pens, like they would be named after, you know, maybe mountains or ski resorts or something like that. I thought it'd be kind of a fun thing, kind of for me, kind of kitschy. But one thing that I want to do is create, once I have the design, like a logo, create these, well, I don't even know what you call these things. But that's like a simple way to, brand your pens. This is a Higgins pen company. And then, you can do like clips, but it's pretty simple to do just a pen roll or a roll stop. I mean, where you just like literally you could just take like an earring, a stud earring, and just like glue the thing in. You'd probably have to cut it down, but well, I'll show you an example. I actually have some. I bought these for the 2 pens that I made for my brother-in-law. I bought these are actually earring stud things. And you drill a tiny hole and then glue it in. And that way it doesn't roll all over roll off your desk. So that's a very simple one. I was thinking I could make, if I did Black Diamond Pen Company, I could make little diamond ones or something. I'll try and find some. Those were just earrings on Amazon. Cut the stem off and you're good to go. All right, so how does this feel? That's feeling pretty good. I like that. Not too bad. I might do a little bit more time here with the 600. Maybe you kind of round over this edge a little bit more. Happy little tree. Some Bob Ross pen making. All right, and then I'm just going to do a little bit of hand sanding. Okay. And for speeds, if anybody cares, I'm usually running around 700, maybe 800 RPMs when I'm doing this stuff. Yeah, I know that's the Black Diamond thing. That wasn't something that I didn't like about that, but at the same time, like whatever, I don't really care. It's going to be Black Diamond Pen Company, but that is a good point. A lot of people like Black Diamond. Yeah, actually, one thing that people do is just 3D print stuff for logos. Then you can just pop it in there. Yeah, I'm not going to laser. Well, I'm going to have my nibs lasered if I can ever settle on a business name and a logo. I don't really plan to do clips, probably. Probably like once or something, every now and then, but like most of the pens I make are probably not going to have clips because like I said, a lot of what I'm trying to do is just see how my blanks look. And so for me to take extra steps like that, I'm not trying to make money or make a name for myself making pens. So like, I don't really care if I have clips on them or not, I don't know how much extra time it adds, but I have a feeling it'll be significant enough that I'm not going to really want to do that much. At least not now. Maybe down the road someday I might change my mind, but not today. I do want to try a clip. I'm waiting for Chad to do his video on that. Because that's the other thing, is I don't really know exactly what it all entails. Anyway, I mean, I have an idea, but I haven't seen a particularly good demonstration of what you need to do. So, and I have a laser, but it's like that old Chinese laser thing, and you have to run Windows to operate it, and basically I've used it probably 10 times and I should just sell it because I don't plan to use it ever. It's so hard to operate. The software is so terrible. And I don't do that's the problem, is I have like 3D printers and lasers and I had a CNC, and the thing is, unless I did that every day, It's just I forget. Like I do a little bit of it and then it just sits there for months and then I'm like, I don't know how to use this thing. So I have issues with that, you know. I really love the idea of all these different manufacturing type things and all that, but the reality is I'm probably not going to really use these things, so that much. 3D printing I do like. I got to be honest, guys, I really don't like the amount of cleanup that's involved with the resin printing, so I haven't done too much of it. I have a few blanks that use it, but I'm not very inclined to do a whole lot more. So that's looking pretty good, guys. What do you think? Oh. Collet didn't come apart. What do you think about that? Obviously it's not polished. This would be a pretty cool pen to just do like up to 2000 and do like a matte finish, you know, where it's not all glossy. This would be a cool one, I think. I don't want to do that because I want it to really pop with these bright colors, especially based on the you know, fish, the idea of this. But I'm pretty excited. So I'm going to leave that on the mandrel. Now we got to switch over to the 18 millimeter, or actually, let's do the section next because that could be the most explosive. So hopefully we can get through that and everything will be great. That's the thing is once you get through, I will say the section is the most delicate part no matter what. I think that's going to be, if something does go wrong, it's probably going to be your section. Luckily, the section you can just, we were talking about it before, like you could just switch it out. Like I think that a black section on this pen would be fine too. Like there's almost no, or something. I could make another one, maybe even just do it out of one of the colors. You know, make a blank that's just one of these colors. There's so many ways that you can come back from the section blowing up that I don't think you need to really worry about it. But you know, if it's really important and you really want that section, then you got to take some care. Now, one thing I will say, so like I said, a lot of people don't use tailstock support, and I don't think Chad usually does ever. I think that you're gonna probably have less problems, catches and things, because if the more support you can give to anything, the less wobbling and you know, that's where you get catches and weird stuff. So I'm kind of a proponent of putting the tailstock up. However, one thing that I have done is kind of gave it too much, like tightened it, came in too much with the tailstock support, and I actually split one of my sections, like the threads. Nothing happened. I actually was able to turn the whole thing, but be very careful. Just barely ease this up to where it starts spinning, but do not put pressure. Like don't, you know, just ease it up until this thing starts actually spinning. That'll be enough support. You know, that I think that will help significantly, but if you put too much pressure, it's going to snap the thing. So, all right. Carved with your Dremel, that's cool. Oh yeah, the earring. Well, that earring is really small. I think that might be kind of tough to engrave. But yeah, you're right. All right, I got to switch my my tool post out. Tool rest. Can't talk. I might have to, we might have to throw in the towel after this one. I think I kind of need to get off my feet. So we might have to next week finish up everything kind of thing. I just think it might be the smartest. And I do, as far as now, I do plan to do a live stream next Saturday. Okay. You know, it's kind of Thanksgiving weekend and all that stuff, but I do plan to do a live stream next Saturday. So, everything, you know, no big deal. Now on my sections, my diameters, I usually go about 12.6 millimeters for the diameters of these two things. And part of that just has to do with what's the diameter of, you know, the body. kind of, just so it kind of matches up to that end there. Let me get my caliper. Yeah, because that's like, that's like 13 point, that's like 14. Well, it is 14, obviously. It's a 14 millimeter, like tenon. So, having that just 1 millimeter difference is pretty good. So like, 12.6. It's about like 1.5 millimeter difference. It just seems to, that seemed pretty good for me. So that's the number that I usually go to. All right, so, and this which is about half, it's about half an inch, which is what this mandrel is. The mandrel's half inch. Let's see what the difference is here. We'll do a quick conversion if I can. Yeah, so half inch is about 12.3 or so. So I'm like 12.6, so that gives me a guide. Using this mandrel, I can kind of figure out how far down I need to turn it. And I just go for, again, I go for 12.6 end to end straight, and then I'll come in and just put a little bit of a concaveness to it. Okay, so enough talking. Let's do this. Where'd my tools go? I'm going to back this tailstock out. Can you guys see? Try and get a good shot of that, like how I kind of sneak up on. So this thing's not spinning right now. It's almost there. Unfortunately, so the only issue is my hand wheel. I would like to I'm going to kind of adjust this just a little bit so that the hand wheel is hanging down, like the handle, when it's like tight. Well, that didn't really work. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna back it out and just kind of bring it up very lightly. That's it. Just barely holding it there. It's such a tiny piece of material. Goes pretty quick actually. But once you start thinning it down, again, I highly recommend, you know, take it easy. The other thing is, you know, you may not be putting, you don't want to be putting a lot of pressure this way from the tailstock, but the other thing about it is if you're taking like huge cuts, that's putting a lot of stress on the entire material, and this thing's pretty thin already. So the more stress you put on it, the more inclined it's going to be to snap somewhere. So just, you know, light cuts. Take it kind of slow. And you'll be good to go. I made a rhyme. All right, so let's get the calipers in here and see where we're at. Should be pretty close. Might be a little fatter on this end, I don't know. .4 there. 13.33 there, and I think we're kind of fat in the middle. Yeah, 13.6. So I'm not that worried about it. The main thing is the two ends need to be good to go, because I'm just going to take away the middle material eventually. .1, 13.1, a little bit more. .9. Yeah. Not about 13. So we just need a little bit more here. All right, let's see here. Can use the cap as a, oh yeah, the cap. You need, that's actually what it is. You're right. The cap has to fit inside the cap. Of course. But so yeah, there's two things going on there. It's got to be able to fit in here. So let's take a measurement. What's the inside measurement here? And, you know, depending on what thread size is, so that's 13 millimeters or so. So it's got to be less than 13 for sure. Otherwise it wouldn't even go in your cap. And then also you just kind of want to, you know, probably want to kind of see how does it match up to your body threads. And at this point, you know, I can back away the tailstock and see how it looks and all that stuff. Actually, let me take one more quick measurement. I think we're pretty much there, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, actually, I got a little bit to take off there. Yeah, actually, both sides. It's going to be kind of tight. Once you get a little bit of that excess material taken away from the middle though, like that, then it kind of makes it a little easier just to take a little bit off the ends here, you know. Okay, so I don't know, I think that's fine. I don't think that taking another cut is really going to do anything here. So, I think we're done. Now, the one thing that I do not like about this type of mandrel, where you're screwing in, you know, from this side, I like it because you're getting probably the best, you're getting a lot of support all the way inside this blank, or you know, this piece. However, I do not like it when it comes to sanding. So I also have, and this is just homemade, I also have one of these types of mandrels. The problem I have is, if I'm going to be sanding this like this, you can really easily nick those threads. Now you could put tape or do whatever, you know, put stuff around it. I could maybe even put some sort of a cover. I've actually been thinking about coming up with a mandrel that works like this. It's basically like, it's like a two-piece mandrel where it wouldn't be like this size, but where you put something else over these threads, and then instead of the tailstock only pushing up against this, if you put something around it first, and then the tailstock was coming up and pushing on another piece, basically another thing. I don't know if this makes sense. Having trouble talking today. But if the cone is, you know, and actually it would be, you know, in this case it would be smarter to have a 60-degree, whatever this part of the mandrel is, a 60 degree on this end, then this isn't trying to separate the material, and you're also keeping everything contained, like with these threads. Like you wouldn't have a problem getting very good tailstock support that way. So that's something that I'm thinking about doing, is coming up with like even a two-piece type of a mandrel system. But for now, I have two different mandrels, and I just swap them out when it comes time to sand. That way, like I said, that way I'm not getting the sandpaper's not hitting those threads. There's no way that I can accidentally smack the threads with my sandpaper. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm kind of splitting hairs, but you know, whatever. Just some food for thought, you know? Okay. Switch out collets. Tell you what, guys, if you're going to get a collet chuck, you may as well get every collet known to man. I literally have every single one of them, metric and standard or imperial or whatever. Ooh, that's running nice and true. Wow, nice. Okay. I got that tightened up there. Here's the other reason that I like sanding this way. Otherwise, there's no way to sand this, which is like where the nib goes, the front end. And I like to get this rounded over so it's not like kind of a sharp edge. So there's a couple of reasons why I like this type of a mandrel, at least for sanding. But I do think that you can get away with turning with a mandrel like this, but man, you really don't have a whole lot of support going on. And if you brought the tailstock up, once again, you're sticking a 60-degree cone in a round hole that doesn't have that taper, and it could blow it out if you know, got a little bit of a catch, or the material moved or something, or you had it too tight. So really, I think this is probably the smartest money you know, using one of these for the turning part, and just doing what you can to you know, maybe add support or not. But I think for sanding, I really like this other method a lot better personally. Okay, so let's, what are we doing here? We're sanding. Oh, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to stop after this one. We can just come back next week and we'll get that cap turned, and then we'll get all of them buffed. I think that'll just be the best, and I'll probably be in better shape next week. I'm hoping I won't be like hobbling around, at least not so much. All right, so once again, we're going to start with 600. We're going to turn that speed down, get this thing wet. You don't know. Yeah, there's you got to have a lot of mandrels and things. I'll tell you what though, like again, I really like these. I don't know. It just doesn't. There is a lot of extra stuff. I mean, you know, there's some good stuff, or there's some a good amount of extra things that you're gonna need to do custom pens. But man, it's so nice once you have all the things. There just isn't a whole lot. And I was mentioning about like the cost. So if you're doing fountain pens, then you know, like the nibs can be kind of expensive. I mean, they're like $15 a piece, I think, depending on where you get them and what they are. So, you know, I mean, that's going to be more expensive than a, you know, like a kind of a cheap, like a cigar pen kit or something like that, or Sierra, Wall Street, whatever. So, you know, you're in it a little bit more, just on that nib and the converter, right? If you're doing fountain pens. But if you did roller balls, I mean, there's almost no cost. Aside from, you know, especially if you're making your own blanks, I mean, barely any cost. Now, if you're not making your own blanks, you got to buy blanks, you know. But you also haven't, if you're not making your own blanks, you're also not buying pressure pots. There's always, you know, there's always equipment and time and all, you know, all these costs involved. So either way, but you would have to have the blanks for any pen anyway. So I don't, you know, I think you can kind of call that a wash. But once you have all the tooling and the, you know, drill bits and things, and it's really just kind of take the material, put some threads in it, shape it, and you're done. I personally like the looks of the fountain pens better than the rollerball custom ones. I don't know. But I do, I think I saw Mark might have made a comment about not really wanting to mess around with, you know, like keeping up, you know, constantly using or maintaining a fountain pen. For the most part, I don't do much maintenance with mine. I mean, you might need to every once in a while like flush it and refill it. If you're changing the color of ink, then you're going to have a little bit more significant cleaning to do. But really, I just kind of leave the ink in them. This is not how you're supposed to do it, but I also don't have time to be messing around with maintaining pens. And for the most part, they're fine. They don't really require that much messing around with, I don't find. Certain inks can kind of dry up a little bit faster. They're drier inks. But overall, in my experience, it hasn't been as bad, because I'm also not, I don't want to fuss about a pen really, you know, but it doesn't require a whole lot of maintenance. I don't find, but there's definitely more than just like a ballpoint or rollerball pen. It's kind of fun though. So it depends on what, you know, it was fun to learn about, and it's kind of fun to have these little routines. But if you don't have time for it, then you might want to just go for like the rollerball style. All right, 800, and then we got 1,000. All right, I'm just going to do a little bit of this kind of lengthwise sanding with the 1,000 very lightly. And we're good to go here. I'm going to put this together with the body real quick so you guys can see what, you know. That's another reason why I like to do the body and then the section, because you can kind of, you know, see where you're at. I mean, I guess technically if I did the body and then the cap, I could put that together too, but let's give it a look. Let's see what where we're at. We can even put the nib in too, you know. Let's see what our pen's looking like, guys. What do you think? All right, here we go. We kind of lined this section up, so it'll be kind of interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that it would have made that much difference, but it does. This part does flow right here. Flow together a little bit there. Technically, we kind of did line things up. I don't know. Especially with just color swirl blanks. A lot of times, I don't know how much time you want to spend trying to get things lined up like that. Because I don't know if anybody's going to care. You know, like if it's really going to be that noticeable in the end. But get a nib in there. Let me zoom out a little bit there. Ah, that's looking pretty fabulous. Look at that, guys. Wow. I think I'd rather see a silver nib, but I don't have any, so. Woo! That's going to be a pretty good looking pen, I think. Once we get that cap on there. Thanks for playing while injured. You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. That feels good in the hand. Yeah, so guys, we're going to probably be playing with some more dyes after this, because I really didn't get into dyes too much. I was like, I know that I can nail mica powders without having to deal with like color bleed or any of this other stuff, and I would rather, you know, use that at first. Even I've been doing this for how many years, guys? Over a decade. And even I'm like, I'm just going to start with micas. You know, like I don't need the hassle of messing with dyes and worrying about color bleed and all this stuff. When I switched over to doing the vertical pours. So I'm just at this point starting to kind of get into, you know, the dyes. And I don't think that it's like you really need to be so afraid of them or anything. It's just, I don't want to work. That's something I don't want to worry about or think about at all. So I just went with the micas and everything went well. You know, I got good results with everything that I'd made. Now, you know, I understand the pouring methods and different ways that I can do things. So now, you know, I want to get into some more of the dyes and see how that goes. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I got to hobble over to the, got to hobble back over to the thing. Yeah, time to get off my feet. Okay, I'm back. So we'll be doing more of that, basically, is what I wanted to say, is more dies. I want to kind of play around with that. Realistically, if it were possible, and it may be, I'm actually gonna be looking into this. I told you for my team color blanks, at this point, like, I can't pour Alumilite white vertically. It's just, there's no way to do that. So, but eventually I may actually switch all my recipes over to, and just do everything with Alumilite clear slow, so I can just pour vertical pen blanks. That would be fabulous if I could do that. It's gonna be extremely expensive though, and I would have to really play with a lot of different things. But so there's things, that I want to kind of learn about. So dyes are probably going to be a little bit more prevalent kind of coming forward. One thing that I want to do coming up, I wish I could have finished these today, because I wanted to do, I guess we can probably do it the next week and it'll be fine. I think I want to come up with a Christmas colors blank using dyes, probably on the next, not next week, but the week after. So I think that might be the theme I think that'd be kind of fun. I don't know. I've never made, I haven't ever made vertical dye Christmas color blanks. So I think that's going to be on the horizon, but it's pretty fun. And if you haven't tried dyes out, like I said, there's no reason to be afraid of them or anything like that. It's just, I knew that I was going to have to do a lot of testing and experimenting, and I just wanted that part of it out of my out of the way. I don't want to deal with dyes right now. I know how micas work, and there's not a lot of mystery to it. So if you're just getting into pouring, micas are a great way to go, and you're going to get more wins. That's the thing, is that they're just going to work easier. You don't have to worry about color bleed particularly with them. You still have to, if you poured it all right away, it would all bleed and it'd be terrible. But as long as you're, reasonably not pouring too early or anything like that, micas are going to work a little bit better. So it's just easier. And I think that you're going to get more wins than failures. So that's a good place to start. But if don't be afraid of dyes, give them a shot, try them out, have fun with them. I just wasn't ready personally. So if you're ready to, go get some dyes and pour some vertical blanks. So let's see here. Yeah, craftsmanship lined up. But the thing is, on that one, I don't know that it's just not identifiable. Like in some blanks it is, where like it could be pretty obvious. Like wood grain, if it's not lined up, it's going to look kind of funky. But either way, you're going to have there's going to be a problem at some point. So let's talk about this for one quick second. If you're doing these Kitless pens, the bespoke, custom, whatever you want to call it. Hold on, I got to hobble. Sorry guys. I just don't want to rush. If you're doing these bespoke blanks or bespoke pens, I got a plumeria. I can do a little bit of promotion while we talk about this. The one issue you have is, do you want, if you're going to go for things lining up like that, do you want the body and the cap to line up? Or do you want the body and the section to line up? Because if you did that, then the cap's not going to line up, right? So I personally think that the cap and the body should line up, because you're probably going to have your pen capped more than anything. And then the other issue is the section a lot of times can be a lot skinnier. So even if you did do all that messing around with trying to line it up, because you've cut in further, it's not the same diameter as the body. Chances are things are not going to line up and be super spectacularly amazing. I think it's going to be probably a little bit of a waste of time trying to line up the section and the body. But for the most part, the cap and the body is going to be a little bit more impressive, especially if it's a blank where things do line up. Pulling it out and handing it to somebody or whatever. I don't know. I kind of feel like the cap and body, like in a picture or sitting on a desk, that's where you want it to look good, right? It's less about when you're writing with it, the cap's off and you're not even looking at the pen anyway. So it's more of like that display thing. Typically pens are displayed with the cap on, kind of, So that's been my thinking about it. But you know, at some point you can't take one blank and line up all three things really. It just doesn't, it's not going to work out in the end. So it's up to you to pick how do you want to do it? You know, do you want to mess around with the section? Do you want to mess around with the cap and the body? You know, the things to think about basically. So let's see here. Line up, let's see, what did Mark say? Paul said it. Lining, there's like this little heart thing that I can't see. Lining up is, hold on a minute. Why does YouTube have to put an emoji thing right in my, oh, that felt good. My knee kind of, it kind of popped a little bit. Okay, so there's a heart here too. Lining up is where to try to line up. Yeah, wait, huh? I don't understand that. Sorry, Paul. Yeah, anyway, you got to think about that. And if you missed it, we did line up. I'm not sure if you were here last week. I lined up the section. I did the work to line up the section according to the blank. So if you want to see how to do that, you basically are going to, if you think about it, you're going to nibble off a little bit of material so that it will turn a little bit further, you know, in. So if you were doing your cap, you would take a little bit off of the cap end or the shoulder of the body. All right, so that's the way to think about it, is it needs to be able to move further down the threads basically, and it's gonna, you're just kind of nibbling away a little bit of material until you get the thing when you screw it on to line up correctly. I'm not sure if that was what you were asking or not. But I just wanted to mention, this is the Plumeria blanks. These are new. So I'm going to drop a link just since I was, you know, shameless plugs. It's shameless plug time, guys. Yeah, so this is the newest addition to the lineup of blanks. So, and there's links to all these down in those, as well as the candy cane stoppers. Again, these are short run, but they're not going to be gone in a week. I usually run these, you know, basically up until like the end of the year. Then they're gone. So anyway, if you want to grab some blanks, head over to my website. I thank you guys for joining the fun tonight. Sorry I was like kind of hobbly and slow and a little brain dead half the time, but I appreciate you guys coming out, and I can't wait to get this thing finished. So next week we'll wrap everything up. We'll get this pen totally done, and I can't wait to see it. Realistically, the cap is probably the quickest because I take off the, you know, it's the fattest part of the pen, so you don't take off that much material in the first place, and it's shorter anyway. So it's going to be a pretty quick one. We'll buff everything up, and then it'll be, you know, done and ready to go. So anyway, come back next week at noon. But in the meantime, guys, I hope that everybody has a great Thanksgiving if you're in the States and celebrating. Make sure to, if you haven't got your ornament in at this point, you're probably not gonna, unless you like super overnight, like UPS it. But the auctions are coming up on the 26th. I think they start. I'm going to go over, I don't know all the details off the top of my head. Let me go and see if I can get some information here. So yeah, live auction will be held November 26th through December 3rd. Okay. Where it's on eBay. I know that. They don't have there's no link to the eBay stuff. So it just must not be ready yet. But if anybody wants to bid on the ornaments that I made that screw together, those are going to be up. And then obviously there's like hundreds of ornaments. If you and all the proceeds go to St. Jude. So they're going to benefit St. Jude again this year. But there's going to be lots of really awesome, every year. I am just absolutely blown away by the awesome work that everybody does. So there's lots of really cool ornaments. If you want to grab some ornaments and help, you know, bid these numbers up, help out with some charity. I'll let you guys know probably, let's see. So yeah, next week will be the 26th. Let's see here. Let me look at a calendar real quick. I should know by next, I'm hoping that they have the info by next Saturday, where to go. But bare minimum, I'll be dropping. I'll probably put up a short, a YouTube short, once I find out where the auctions, like what the actual link is. And I think you can do links in YouTube Shorts. Either way, on Instagram and Facebook for sure, I will be dropping that. And then just I'm sure Turner's Warehouse is going to have probably a video on their channel. So go to Turner's TV, the YouTube channel there, to get all the information. Make sure to subscribe as well. But anyway, I think it should be pretty fun. I can't wait to see. Hopefully, I'm hoping that those ornaments grab some cash. That's always the fun part. You make these things and that's always fun, but it's really cool seeing, how much money your ornament can make and help out with the charities. I love doing that. So, and don't forget guys, the prizes are off the hook this year. There's a lathe up for grabs. I got a couple of $100 gift cards that are up for grabs, and there's plenty of other ones. Easy Wood Tools has a set of tools for every winner of every category, a different set for every category. And then, Stormwind Blanks, I know is sponsoring it. Stainless bottle stoppers. Who else? I'm trying to think. There's lots of them. Those are the only ones that I can think of off the top of my head. But there's prizes galore, and you don't have to win the category to be entered. Actually, for the most part, most of the prizes are actually just an open drawing for anybody that sends in an ornament. So it's pretty cool. Hopefully you guys will win some stuff. But anyway, I hope you have a great rest of the evening tonight. We'll be back again next week at noon Pacific time. Finish this pen up. And I think I'm going to head home and probably ice my knee a little bit and then prop it up and probably watch some movies. So anyway, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the night. Thanks for joining the fun. Thank you guys for the super chats. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next stream.